do or die.
על רקע מצבה העגום של מדינת ישראל בדעת הקהל העולמית, החליט אדם אחד, פיליפ אסולין שמו, להתגייס למען הגנת שמה של ישראל באמצעי התקשורת. אסולין בעל אזרחות ישראלית-קנדית. הוא משפטן לפי השכלתו ושוקד עכשיו על כתיבת עבודת הדוקטורט שלו בלוס אנג'לס. ואין זה מפתיע כי גם אסולין סבור שישראל הרשמית כושלת בהצגת עמדותיה באמצעי התקשורת. אבל עקב סגולותיו הרטוריות אף הזמינה אותו לדיון משודר לא פחות ולא יותר מאשר הטלוויזיה של איראן המשדרת באנגלית. הנה מה שאמר לנו פיליפ אסולין בעת שהותו כאן בימים אלה בארץ.
I think there is no Israeli Hasbara. There's Israeli Hasbara pnimit. There's Israeli Hasbara for internal audiences, to make it look as if something's being done by politicians in Israel. It's a very harsh assessment, but that's what I see. I think there's a bit of a change of late. They're a bit more alarmed, but it's completely inadequate, and we have at least 30 years to catch up on.
Do you feel, Mr. Assouline, that it's very difficult to turn the tide, the anti-Israeli tide, in the mood of students, universities in the US?
Yes and no. So we're at a point where we're very much losing because for 30 years we've neglected this problem. There is a campaign of propaganda on campuses, and I say propaganda not as a bad word, but in the way in which it works, to appeal to masses and to different minority groups through emotions and pictures and narratives. Very simple, very appealing. It's almost like consuming it. And that's been going on for 30 years, framing the Palestinians as everybody's victim. And so we have 30 years to catch up, and we're very much losing. And from that point of view, it seems like a daunting challenge. On the other hand, there is a solution. People, at least in the United States, are generally not anti-Semitic at all. There's a lot of good faith, and we can reverse the situation. We can at least balance it to make it fair. But I don't know of any mainstream government or Jewish organization that is even thinking in the proper terms.
I watched one of your debates with Jews who are criticizing Israel.
Well, what we found is that in many of these campuses, it's precisely the J Street U people who have the most credibility in building the alliances that they need to defeat these BDS resolutions. And the reason they have the most credibility is that they're known for taking a principled stand in favor of human rights, of a two-state solution, and of knowing that being pro-Israel doesn't automatically mean that you have to be anti-Palestinian.
In the present context, where Israel is under attack by a propaganda jihad, okay, do we choose to make our priority and to dedicate most of our efforts to criticizing Israel publicly? Because you can say you're against BDS, but if half the time you're giving credibility to the accusations of BDS and obfuscating the context, then you're just hurting. And in the present context, you need to know when to have the discussion, and that's not just inside. That's not true, but it's with whom and at what time. J Street can be critical of Israel all at once, but when it moves from being critical of Israel to pushing the American government to impose decisions against Israeli democracy via money, that's a moral problem. You don't defend Israeli democracy, as they like to claim, by overriding Israeli democracy. So since that was my message, and I think it went through very well, I didn't find it difficult in that case.
Yes, we do lobby Congress. That's our right as US citizens to affect the policy of the US government, and that's the way the political game is played. There's another lobby up there that is much more powerful and well-established and well-funded than ours. And so, yes, we're quite open about it. We try to lobby for American leadership that would lead policies that would lead to a two-state solution. That is not to say that such a solution can be imposed, and it won't be imposed.
What do you think, Mr. Assouline, in retrospect, about your appearance with a prominent person from the Hezbollah, Mr. Ibrahim Moussawi? He was a spokesman for the Hezbollah, and both of you appeared on Iranian television in the English language.
Yeah, that's a very funny experience. Full disclosure, I only realized that he was very much related to the group and working for them during the interview. Because as you may have seen, I was very harsh on him. But because I appear on television explaining the Israeli position, somehow the number got to Press TV and they wanted to interview me after Israel had attacked a jeep on the border of the Golan Heights. And it's a state TV from Iran. And the first question he asked me is, how do you justify this violation of Syrian sovereignty? So I'm a Mediterranean man at base. I have a bit of emotions, and I found it abhorrent that he would ask me this hypocritical question when Iran is itself violating Syrian sovereignty for 3 years or 4 years now and committing a near genocide. So that's immediately where the discussion went, and I was unreserved in my criticism and my answers to him, even though at one point I realized this is a member of Hezbollah. But they keep calling me back. I think they liked it.
Philippe Assouline.
Now, I want to ask my guest, what was Iran doing in Syria? Why are Iranian generals in Syria funding a near genocide that has cost 200,000 Syrian lives? Why is Hezbollah supposedly loyal to Lebanon, fighting in Syria for Iran? Can he answer that instead of resorting to a litany of insults and lies about Israel?
Ibrahim Musawi.
It's I believe litany of insults and lies about Israel. I mean, go and see what the European Union says. The average human being tells you that this is a state of terrorism that has been built upon savagery and massacres. Do I have to go back and fetch in the books? I mean, unless you haven't done your homework, this is one thing. And the other thing that you should understand when you talk about this, yes, Gaza is under the siege. I mean, what's the difference when you don't have a sovereignty? Gaza is under siege. 1.5 million people are under siege. They are not allowed to take the basics of their food and anything that they need. They are short of supplies. And the other thing, when he talks about Hezbollah, that we are attacking here and there.
You just evade every single statement I've been making to repeat tired and slanderous propaganda.
Come on. You are either completely ignorant about what's happening here, or it's a big problem in your London. I tell you, the Palestinians in Lebanon, here you have to talk about the problem. You have to know that your government, the United States of America, and the Israeli government is responsible for the refugees.
Would you appreciate the fact that the Iranian state TV invited a supporter of Israel, such an enthusiastic supporter of Israel, to its studio?
I'm impressed that they want to invite me again. I don't know if they knew so much at the beginning. They want to have a fig leaf to make it seem like they're impartial. And I think they wanted me on so they could crucify me together. But the fact that they invited me over and over again, listen, it's probably good for ratings to have such a heated debate.
I see. I thank you very much, Mr. Philippe Assouline.
A real pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you again. Thank you.